The jungle world of Zivar had long been forgotten by the galaxy. To the human platoon stranded there, it was both a death trap and a sanctuary. The 12 soldiers, led by Captain Elena Cross, had been marooned for weeks after their ship was shot down by enemy fire. Supplies were dwindling, and communication with command had been severed, leaving them isolated in hostile territory. Yet, they were not beaten. Captain Cross, a veteran of countless skirmishes, knew that survival was not a matter of brute force but cunning and patience. "Status report," she barked, crouching beneath the thick canopy that shielded them from overhead surveillance. Sergeant Malik Reyes, her second-in-command, glanced at his worn tablet, the device flickering with intermittent static. "Drones picked up movement 2 clicks south, ma'am. Looks like a scouting party. The main force can't be far behind." Cross nodded, her eyes narrowing. She was a tall, wiry woman with sharp features that matched her reputation for being unyielding. "They're getting closer. They think we're trapped." "Good. Let them think that." The alien general, Skarzul, had been tracking them with relentless determination, convinced that exterminating this small group would secure his victory on Zivar. To him, the humans were little more than vermin, a minor nuisance that had yet to be crushed. He was confident in his overwhelming numbers and advanced technology, but he lacked one critical insight. The humans had chosen this place as their battlefield. "Set the charges," Cross ordered. Reyes and 2 others, Corporal Jensen and Private Lee, moved swiftly through the dense undergrowth, planting explosive charges at key choke points. These traps, hidden beneath layers of moss and vines, were the first line of defense. Cross had learned from years of experience that the environment could be as much a weapon as any firearm. Zivar's thick jungles, with their labyrinthine pathways and natural hazards, were a perfect ally. "Snipers in position?" Cross asked, turning to Reyes as he rejoined her. "Affirmative." Reyes confirmed. "Decker and Silva are covering the western ridge. They've got eyes on the main approach." Cross exhaled slowly. Every move they made was calculated, every step a part of the larger plan to bleed the enemy dry. "Good. We stick to the plan. We don't engage until we have them right where we want them." The human soldiers were vastly outnumbered, but that was precisely the point. Cross knew that the alien general, with his arrogance and disdain for human tactics, would charge in headfirst, expecting an easy victory. Instead, he would find a battlefield meticulously prepared for his defeat. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows through the jungle, the humans settled into their positions. Cross crouched beside Reyes, her eyes scanning the tree line where the enemy would soon emerge. The air was thick with tension, every rustle of leaves magnified in the soldiers' ears. They had been on edge for days, surviving on ration bars and adrenaline, but the exhaustion only sharpened their focus. They were soldiers, trained to endure far worse than this. "Remember," Cross whispered, "we don't need to win this battle outright. We just need to make them bleed. We'll hit them hard, then melt back into the jungle. Keep them guessing, keep them paranoid." Reyes agreed. "We'll make them pay for every inch." Minutes passed like hours, the waiting almost unbearable. Then, through the thick foliage, came the first signs of movement, a rustling that grew louder, followed by the faint glow of alien scanners. Cross could see them now. The alien vanguard, moving in formation, their bioluminescent armor casting an eerie light in the darkness. They advanced confidently, unaware of the death waiting in the shadows. Cross signaled to her team, her hand raised in a silent command. The soldiers tensed, fingers on triggers, eyes fixed on their targets. The aliens were almost within range, their heavy footsteps shaking the ground. Just a few more steps. And then, with a silent nod from Cross, all hell broke loose. The jungle erupted in a cacophony of explosions as the charges detonated, sending debris and alien bodies flying. The aliens' formation shattered. Their advance halted in an instant. Before they could regroup, the snipers opened fire, picking off the disoriented survivors with deadly precision. Panic spread through the alien ranks as more traps were triggered, their once confident advance turning into a chaotic retreat. Cross allowed herself a grim smile as she watched the chaos unfold. The aliens had walked right into her trap, and now they would pay the price. Pull back to the secondary position, Cross ordered, already moving through the undergrowth. We hit them again at dawn. As the humans melted back into the jungle, leaving behind a field of devastation, the alien general's voice crackled over his troops' comms, demanding answers, ordering them to regroup. But it was too late. The humans had struck, and they would strike again, each blow more devastating than the last. Scarzol had underestimated them. He would not make that mistake again if he survived long enough to learn from it. The dawn broke over Zivar in a muted haze, the thick canopy of the jungle diffusing the light into a soft, ominous glow. The remnants of the alien vanguard lay scattered across the forest floor, smoldering craters and twisted metal marking where the humans had struck. The survivors of the initial attack had regrouped, their numbers bolstered by reinforcements from the main force. They moved with a cautious wariness now, the arrogance of their previous advance replaced by an uneasy tension. General Scarzol's fury was evident as he watched his troops fumble through the jungle. His once unshakable confidence had been replaced by a simmering rage, born of both frustration and a dawning realization. These humans, these insignificant pests, were far more dangerous than he had anticipated. "Push forward," he barked through the comms. "Sweep the area. I want them found and exterminated now." The alien soldiers obeyed, fanning out into the dense undergrowth, their bioluminescent armor dimmed to avoid detection. They scanned the foliage with an intensity born of fear, their weapons ready. But the jungle was silent, as if it too were holding its breath. Scarzol couldn't afford another mistake. His reputation, his command, hung in the balance. These humans needed to be crushed swiftly and decisively before word of their defiance spread. But every step his troops took only deepened his unease. He could feel the humans' eyes on them, could sense the trap tightening around him, but he couldn't see it. Couldn't find the enemy that was always one step ahead. Unbeknownst to Scarzol, Captain Elena Cross and her platoon were already on the move. They had withdrawn to their secondary positions during the night, anticipating the general's heavy-handed response. From their concealed vantage points, the human soldiers watched as the alien forces stumbled into their ambush. Cross, crouched behind a thick cluster of vines, surveyed the enemy through the scope of her rifle. She could see the tension in their movements, the jittery way they scanned the jungle, and she knew they were close to breaking. All it would take was one well-timed strike to send them into disarray. "Steady," she murmured into her comm. "Wait for my mark." Beside her, Sergeant Malik Reyes was a coiled spring of energy. "They're right on top of us, Captain. Another few meters and they'll—" "Not yet," Cross interrupted, her tone brooking no argument. She had chosen this spot carefully, knowing that impatience would be the enemy's downfall. The jungle around them was riddled with concealed explosives, snipers, and pitfalls, each one set to maximize chaos. The aliens were walking into a kill box, and they didn't even know it. The seconds dragged on as the aliens crept closer, their formation tightening as they neared what they assumed was the humans' position. Scarzol himself was at the rear. He had ordered them to sweep and clear, but the jungle had swallowed up his commands, leaving him with nothing but static and silence. And then Cross saw her moment. The lead alien soldier, a hulking brute clad in heavy armor, stepped directly onto a pressure plate hidden beneath a layer of leaves. For a split second, everything was still. Then Cross gave the order. "Now!" The jungle exploded into violence. The pressure plate triggered a chain reaction, the blast ripping through the alien ranks with deadly precision. Trees splintered, shrapnel tore through armor, and the alien soldiers were thrown into chaos as the carefully laid trap sprang to life. The humans had timed it perfectly, the simultaneous detonations disorienting the aliens and breaking their lines. Reyes hit the detonator, setting off another wave of explosions that cut off the aliens' retreat. Flames roared to life as incendiary devices ignited, turning the jungle into a fiery hellscape. The alien soldiers, caught between the explosions and the advancing flames, panicked. Their discipline shattered as they scrambled to escape the inferno, only to be met with the cold precision of human snipers. From their concealed perches, Decker and Silva unleashed a barrage of deadly accurate shots, each one finding its mark amidst the chaos. Alien soldiers fell where they stood, their bodies crumpling under the withering fire. The humans moved like ghosts through the jungle, striking from the shadows and disappearing before the aliens could react. Scarzol, watching from the rear, felt the tide of battle slipping from his grasp. His soldiers were being slaughtered, their advanced technology rendered useless by the humans' ruthless guerrilla tactics. He had underestimated them, and now he was paying the price. But he was not a general known for retreat. "Rally to me," he roared. "Form up, regroup, and counterattack." But his commands fell on deaf ears. The alien soldiers were in full retreat, driven by fear and desperation as the humans pressed their advantage. Scarzol's plan had crumbled before his eyes, and he was left with a choice: continue to fight a losing battle or pull back and live to fight another day. As the alien forces faltered, Cross signaled her team to disengage. They had inflicted maximum damage, and now it was time to vanish back into the jungle. The humans retreated as swiftly and silently as they had attacked, leaving behind a battlefield littered with the remains of their enemies. Scarzol, standing amidst the carnage, seething with a bitter realization. These humans were not prey. They were predators, and they had just turned his army into the hunted. Scarzol's rage was volcanic, bubbling beneath the surface of his controlled exterior as he watched his once mighty forces retreat in disarray. The alien general had never encountered such fierce resistance from a species so small, so seemingly insignificant. The humans had proven themselves far more formidable than he had anticipated, their cunning and tenacity slicing through his army like a blade through soft flesh. Yet, despite the carnage, he was not one to concede defeat easily. "Reform the lines," Scarzol bellowed. "Do not let them escape." His remaining soldiers, battered and bloodied, scrambled to obey. The jungle around them was a charnel house of fallen comrades and smoldering wreckage, but they regrouped with the mechanical discipline of a species bred for war. Scarzol's pride would not allow him to flee. The humans had to be annihilated, no matter the cost. Meanwhile, Captain Elena Cross crouched low in the undergrowth, her sharp eyes scanning the alien ranks from a distance. She could see the desperation in their movements, the way they clung to order amidst the chaos. Scarzol was trying to salvage what he could from the disaster she had wrought, but Cross had no intention of letting him succeed. "Malik, are you in position?" she whispered into her comm. "Affirmative, Captain," Reyes replied. He and his team had circled around the remnants of the alien force, positioning themselves to strike at the heart of the enemy command. "We're ready to light them up on your mark." Cross allowed herself a tight smile. They had lured Scarzol into overextending his forces, drawing him deeper into the jungle where the terrain favored the humans. Now, with the aliens focused on regrouping, she planned to deliver the final blow, a swift, coordinated strike that would shatter what remained of their morale and cripple their leadership. "Prepare to engage," she ordered. The general was barking commands, unaware that his doom was creeping ever closer. As her team moved into position, Cross felt the familiar weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. These soldiers trusted her to lead them to victory, to outthink and outfight an enemy that had every advantage in numbers and technology, and she would not fail them. She had studied the enemy, learned their weaknesses, and now she would exploit them with ruthless efficiency. The moment came swiftly. Scarzol, finally realizing that his attempts to reorganize were futile, began issuing orders for a tactical withdrawal. But before he could execute the maneuver, Cross gave the signal. "Now!" Reyes and his team unleashed hell from their hidden positions. A barrage of grenades and concentrated fire erupted from the flanks, targeting the alien command unit with pinpoint accuracy. The explosions tore through the ranks, sending the alien soldiers into a panic frenzy. They had thought the worst was over, but the humans had been lying in wait, ready to strike when their enemy was most vulnerable. Scarzo roared in fury as his personal guard was decimated in seconds. He turned, determined to find and kill the human leader who had brought him to this humiliating brink. His enhanced vision scanned the jungle, searching for any sign of the humans. Cross, aware of the danger, motioned for her team to fall back, but it was too late. Scarzo had spotted her, and with a guttural growl he charged, his energy blade igniting in a blaze of violet light. He was a force of nature, a juggernaut driven by a single-minded desire for vengeance. But Cross was ready. As Scarzo closed the distance, she stood her ground. She had faced death before. This was just another battle, another enemy to outwit. Scarzo swung his blade in a wide arc, the energy weapon slicing through the air with deadly intent. But Cross was faster. She dodged the strike with a fluid motion. As Scarzo's blade cut through empty space, Cross rolled to the side, bringing her rifle to bear on his exposed flank. She fired, a burst of armor-piercing rounds slamming into Scarzo's side. The general stumbled, but he didn't fall. Fueled by rage, he swung again, but Cross had already moved, circling him, staying just out of reach. The battle was brutal, a deadly dance of precision and power. Scarzo was relentless, but his injuries slowed him, his movements becoming more erratic as Cross continued to chip away at his defenses. Each strike he missed drained his energy. Each wound sapped his strength. Finally, with a well-placed shot, Cross severed the power conduits to Scarzo's energy blade. The weapon fizzled out, leaving the general disarmed and vulnerable. Cross didn't hesitate. She closed the distance, pressing the muzzle of her rifle against his chest and pulling the trigger. Scarzo staggered. He collapsed to his knees, the mighty general brought low by the very enemy he had so gravely underestimated. His last breath escaped in a ragged whisper, and then he was still. Cross stepped back, watching as the remaining alien soldiers, now leaderless and broken, fled into the jungle. The battle was over, and the humans had won. Not through superior firepower, but through strategy, determination, and the unyielding will to survive. Reyes approached, his expression a mix of exhaustion and relief. "It's done, Captain. We've secured the area." Cross agreed. "Good. Let's gather the team and prepare for extraction. Zivar is ours." As the jungle fell silent once more, the human soldiers regrouped, their victory hard won but complete. The tide had turned, and with it, the fate of the battle.